It's a good day for Facebook investors.
Try and assess the value of Tesla, and that's how they get to that 780 price target.
Another name for the watch list is eXp World Holdings.
Salesforce signs definitive agreement to acquire Slack. We have the pricing.
Over 10,000 people apply to join Upwork every single day.
These are just some of the stocks I own going into 2021. But you might ask yourself, how did you pick those stocks and why do you think that those are going to do well? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Let me show you my secret. Yep, that's the one. Well, maybe it's not that easy, but in this video, I'm going to break it down in just a few steps how you, without any experience, could find the right stocks for you. Recently, I had my family over for Thanksgiving, and while I was talking to my niece, who's 29 years old now, she's not a baby anymore. This just makes me feel really, really old. But regardless, she's doing extremely well now. She just got a new job where she's just doubled her salary, and now, like many of you, she has some disposable income that she can use for investing. So she asked me the question that I've been getting a lot recently, and that's, how do I find the right companies? How do you pick a stock to invest in? So I made this video today so I can educate you guys on just how to do that. The first step is try not to overcomplicate things. What profession are you currently in? Because that industry, you probably know better than most people out there on Wall Street or just about anyone else. So for example, I'm in real estate. I could find companies that are going to disrupt real estate or are the next big thing in real estate because I know what real estate needs. So ask yourself the same question. What is it within your industry that you feel needs to change, and what companies out there changing it right now? Next question you need to ask yourself when identifying a stock is, what products do you currently own, or what services do you currently use that if they broke, you would buy them again? Or what service do you currently have that you cannot live without? So it's, for instance, Netflix. Or for a lot of people, you have your iPhone. If your iPhone breaks, you're probably gonna go out and buy another iPhone. For me, it's my Tesla, my Lola. If she blew up tomorrow or got stolen, I'd go out there and it'd give me a reason to get a new Tesla. So I'd go out and get another Tesla just because I love the product that much. So that's one of the reasons why I invested so early on in the company, because I loved it even before I owned the car. Another example is my iMac. I love my iMac. I love you, iMac.
That's sweet.
What?
I think you're pretty great. I enjoy spending quality time with you.
If you haven't noticed, I have a pretty weird relationship with my Mac, but I do love it because it's just a monster. It handles anything I throw at it. I use it for editing and just about anything else. So do I invest in Apple? Absolutely, because I love their products and I feel like it's still going to be relevant 10 years from now. Next question you ask yourself is, what industry are you really passionate about? Some people might work as an insurance adjuster, but they hate insurance, but they might have a passion for, let's say, cars. Other people might like makeup, some other people might like sports. No matter what you're into, it doesn't matter, because every industry has an opportunity to be disrupted, and then within every industry there's a company that's crushing it. The next thing I told her was subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell so you can be alerted when any new videos come out. But not only that, guys, we cover a lot of great stuff here, and we're going to be covering a lot more stock videos. So if you're interested in that, make sure to join the family and hit that subscribe button right now and give this video a like. The next step is very simple. You take 5 to 10 companies that you really like. You put them down on a notebook or on a spreadsheet, and then you want to find out if these companies are even publicly traded. So what you have to do is find out what platform you're going to use. I use 3 different platforms, but for this example, we're going to use WEBULL. And if you want to use WEBULL also, I'll leave my affiliate link down below in the description section. So this is what you're going to do once you're there. You're going to want to make sure that they fit 5 key benchmarks, okay? 5 things. You don't have to hit all 5, but the more of the 5 they do hit, the better the stock is going to be, okay? They're not all going to be perfect. Some of them, some of the best ones are probably going to have very low benchmarks, but try to make sure they have at least 3 of the 5. The first thing you want to do is to find out what are analysts saying about the stock. Are they saying it's a buy? Are they saying it's a hold? Or are they saying it's a sell? Anything that's a hold or a buy or a strong buy, you want to give your stock a check. The second criteria is probably going to be the one that's most difficult out of all of them, but it's still very simple. All we have to do is slide over into the financial section and look at the EPS. That's the earnings per share. If the earnings per share are going in an upwards trajectory, or their estimate for next year is also going in an upwards trajectory, and that's a good sign. But not all great companies have this. For instance, I invested in Tesla when Tesla had no earnings whatsoever, and there's a lot of companies today that I invest in that have no earnings. So even though this would be good to have, it's not 100% necessary. The next question you need to ask yourself is this: is the industry growing or is the industry dying? So for instance, there's a lot of industries that are growing right now that are actually new industries, such as autonomy or maybe the human genome. And these are things that are going to be huge in the future, but right now they may be a very small market. But there's other industries that are dying, such as, for instance, the travel might be dying right now, or who knows how long it'll take to recover. Traditional banking might be dying right now. There's different ways. Big oil is dying. So these are just some examples of some industries that may not make sense for you to invest in, but if they do fit that criteria, give it a check mark. Number 4 is this: what is the crowd saying about this? This is an advantage that we have today that we never had in the past. A long time ago, we didn't have access to the internet where we can go into a community and see what the community is saying about the company. In the WEBULL app, they have a section under comments where you can see what people are actually saying about the companies, and they actually get an opportunity to vote. So you'll be able to see if they're bearish, which means they don't think the company is going to do good, or if they're bullish and they think the company is going to do great. So that's a great indicator, but just be careful because there's people in there who are just trolling and telling you the opposite of what they're doing because they're either shorting the stock or they might be long the stock. Who knows? But be very careful. Don't just read one comment and make your decision. Read a lot of comments to see what people are saying and what the overall sentiment is. Not only that, but you can also go on the apps and see what companies are trending, what companies are being bought the most on that app. And if you see that these companies are also in there, that's also a good sign, and give that a check mark. Now, the last step is something you would have probably never thought about in the past, but this is 2020, so we have to make sure that we check off this box as well. Is the company or the industry pandemic proof? And if it's not, it's probably not going to be a good idea to buy that company, because the companies that are doing well this year and are going to continue to do well in the future are companies that don't rely on brick and mortar, companies that are internet-based, cloud-based. And if your company has something that fits that box, then give it a check mark. A great example of this is a company like Foot Locker. Foot Locker was traditionally always brick and mortar inside the malls, but they transitioned into a big internet presence ever since the pandemic hit, and now their company is doing great. Another example of this would be Disney. Disney also diversified from just having theme parks to having movies and now streaming services. So if the company is in this criteria, check mark. So now that we have our 5 criteria, if your company is hitting at least 3 of the 5, then you're probably okay to buy those. But the most important one out of all those is the last one I mentioned. If it's pandemic proof, that is a must. Everything else, you could fluctuate, but at least that with 2 other criteria and you're good to go. Now, this is another question I get asked frequently, is when do we sell? When is it the right time to sell? And the answer to that is very simple. You don't sell. You never sell unless something has fundamentally changed with your company. For instance, let me give you an example. If you were invested into any of these companies in the past, such as Exxon or any big oil company, Blockbuster, Kodak, the airlines, cruise lines, any of those, and you don't sell once you start seeing red flags everywhere that they're not changing their structure, then I think it's time to sell out of those companies. Companies come and go. They reach their climax and then they slowly die off. So you need to make sure that you are aware of that, and that sometimes companies, if they're on a downward trajectory, you may want to take your profits and reinvest it into companies that are going upwards and are starting to have that momentum that we're all looking for. Once you've established the companies that you want to invest in, no more than 5 to 10, keep that in mind, because it's hard to keep track of more than that if you have a full-time job and you're also investing. So make sure you keep your list nice and small. And then what you're gonna wanna do is, as you get extra money, you're gonna dollar cost average in. Now, once you get paid and you have the money in hand, don't just go out and buy that day. Make sure that that day, your stocks are on the downside. You never wanna buy a stock when it's the highest it's ever been, because usually it comes back down. So within that week that you have disposable cash, just dollar cost average in is what it's called. You just buy a little bit more, a little at a time, and over the long run, you're gonna do just fine. Don't try to time the market to buy every single time at the price you bought the last time, because those opportunities seldomly come. So just buy as you see an opportunity. If it drops 5% or 10%, buy. If it goes up 10 or 20%, maybe you should wait for a little bit of a pullback before you just go out and buy. The problem is that people usually buy when it's green and they sell when it's red, when you should be doing the opposite. Just think about it. If you go to a department store and things are on sale, you buy. If things are more expensive than ever were, you probably don't buy there, and you go to another store and you wait and you see if it's better priced over there. That's the same thing with the stock market. We don't want to buy when it's too high. We want to wait for a little bit of pullback, then we buy. Another thing you want to do is revisit your stocks from time to time. So maybe once a week you want to take a look to see how well you're doing or how bad you're doing. And if you're doing really well in one stock and it's completely taken off, what you may want to do from time to time is, if you're too heavy in one stock, just sell a little bit of it and place that money into another stock that still hasn't had the same run up, as long as they're all doing well. The last thing you want to do if you do get serious about trading is you want to learn how to read financials and balance sheets, and you're also going to want to stalk CEOs to make sure that these are good people, not just people who are going to tell you one thing and do another, or report false earnings, or maybe have a shady past. This is something you're going to want to do much later on, but in the beginning you don't have to worry about all these things. But if you do want to make investing more of a bigger part of your life, then I do suggest you invest some time, some energy, and maybe possibly some money into a course where you can learn how to do these things. If you're still watching, leave the name of a company that you're thinking of investing in down in the comment section. Or if you already invested in and you're still confused about what it might do in the future, between myself and the viewers, I'm sure we can give you a fresh perspective on it. And remember, when investing in stock, you don't always win, and it could be worse than a divorce, because you can lose half your money, but your spouse is still there. Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, smash that like button, and we'll see you next time.